At this time, I'd like to call to order the May 9th, 2017 Davie County Board of Education regular scheduled meeting to order. Our first item on the agenda is to adopt the agenda. Do we have a motion? We have a motion by Mr. Drexler. Do we have a second? We have a second by Mr. Hales. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. At this time, we're moving on to the closed session portion of our meeting, and I will ask for a motion to go into closed session to preserve the attorney-client privilege pursuant to the North Carolina General Statutes listed on our agenda, to discuss personnel matters protected by state law, and to discuss student matters made confidential by general statutes and FERPA. Do we have a motion? We have a motion by Ms. Owens. We have a second by Mr. Potts. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. We're now in closed session. At this time, I'd like to reconvene the May 9th, 2017 Davie County Board of Education regular meeting to order and welcome everyone. At this time, we're going to have the invocation. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace as we make decisions that affect our great county, and continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you, and for the service of humanity. We ask these things in your name. Amen. At this time, I would ask and welcome up the Cub Scout Pack 732 Webelos 1 to come up and lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate you coming and sharing with us today. Next up on our agenda is approval of minutes from our last regular scheduled meeting of April the 4th and our special called work session of April the 25th. And I'll ask for a motion to approve those minutes. We have a motion by Mr. Drexler. We have a second by Mr. Hales. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. This time I'm going to point out a few dates on our calendar. We have on Saturday, May the 13th, we have the, starting at 10 o'clock, we have the Ashley for the Arts Festival at Davie High. Then we will have a DARE graduation at Moxville Elementary at 9 o'clock on Monday the 15th. We have on the 17th, we have DARE graduation at 9 at Canancer, and on the 18th, we have DARE graduation at Coolamy, which is 18th at 9. Then, let's see, there's on May the 20th, a Kids Fest sponsored by Smart Start at the Brock and Masonic Picnic Grounds. And then also on Saturday, the 20th, we have the early college graduation over at Calvary Baptist Church, the West Campus. We also have the retirement reception on the 23rd at 6 o'clock. And then the 10th year anniversary celebration of the early college on the 24th at 4 o'clock. William Ellis has their 10th year celebration on June the 3rd at 11 o'clock. And then our next meeting will be in here starting at 4 o'clock on the 6th, on Tuesday the 6th, June the 6th. And I think I will stop there and turn it over to Dr. Hartness for his superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, everyone. It's good to see a good crowd out tonight. Let me share just two things briefly, and then I want to give thank yous to a lot of different groups. You can tell by your agenda and your important dates calendar that May is a very busy month in our school system. Two things on the business side tonight. We'll talk about later in our agenda your draft budget, It's come to my attention that Senator Berger held a press conference at 3:30 this afternoon, and the Senate now has released their version of the state budget. We'll have some more information on that later tonight. We'll be reviewing that later this week. Of course, now the budget process is their draft budget will go to the House. The House will develop their budget and present it, then they will develop a group of conferees to discuss the budget and agree on a budget. What we're hearing from some is that the legislative leadership would like to have a budget adopted early this year, even by June the 15th. Now, that would be miraculous, but we would welcome that, so as long as they take care of public education in the process. I have a couple slides that I'm going to ask the tech department to put up because we have all heard lots of information in the media, and we have discussed in our meetings a number of times House Bill 13. And House Bill 13 made its way into the Senate. The Senate revised House Bill 13, and now it has been adopted by the House and the Senate and approved by the governor. And essentially what we were talking about is the reduction of class size in kindergarten through third grade and the issue with the same position allotment that pays for K-3 teachers paying for our enhancement teachers like art, music, and PE. So I provided a slide like this one earlier to the board outlining how positions are funded in our schools historically. And you can see that there was one change in 2013-14 where there was a reduction of funding or an increase in class size. But the only other change in that 6-year period was in 2016-17, the legislature increased funding in first grade and increased funding to a ratio of 1:16. So there was an increased funding in one grade level out of K-3. If we'll go to the next slide, you will see what the class size maximums are. So let's start on the left side. In 2016-17, the first column beside the K there is 1:18. That's how our classrooms are funded. For every 18 students in kindergarten, we get one teaching position, but that includes the teacher in the classroom, and we also use those position allotments for art, music, and PE. The LEA is the school district maximum average, so we cannot exceed 21 in our kindergarten classes across the district, and no individual class can exceed 24. The 21 and 24 ratio have been in place for a long, long time. The compromise of HB 13 is what's in the middle column and in the right column. The middle column says in 2017-18, the legislature has reduced the LEA maximum average by one student from 21 down to 20, and no individual classroom can exceed 23. So if you recall the last slide we looked at, they increased funding in grade 1, but we've reduced class size requirements in grades kindergarten through third grade. We didn't change the funding formula there, but we reduced the class size in kindergarten, second, and third grade, not just first grade. What essentially HB 13 did was give some relief in 2017-18. The legislature is going to look at this issue, and they have promised, but it's nowhere in the bill, to set aside monies for enhancement teachers for 2018-19 when you look at what the new class size maximums are in the law as it stands today. I'm very curious to see any placeholders in the Senate version of the budget for these enhancement teachers for 2018-19, because as you recall, this is the long session, so they'll adopt a 2-year budget. There should be a placeholder for those enhancement teachers, or next year in the spring we'll be in the same position we are this year, and I hope that doesn't happen. But they've committed to looking at this issue and creating a special allotment for those enhancement teachers. The big question we all ask is that additional funding to reduce class size and a special allotment, or is that taking funds from somewhere else? Because the last estimate I saw, there are about 5,400 enhancement teachers in the state. That's a large sum of money to fund all those positions separately. So I wanted to bring this to your attention. Move to the next slide, if you will. The last slide just shows that that commitment that they've publicly stated their intent to new funding for those enhancement teachers. We'll look for that in the final budget. Hopefully, we will see that. In addition, HB 13 has some reporting requirements. 2 times a year, school districts will be required to report class size to the state in September and in February. And there's a whole list of things that they will want in that reporting that we will, as school districts, comply with. So with that, we'll move on to some thank yous. I just want to give everyone a sigh of relief that there are no changes that we anticipate with enhancement teachers for next school year in Davie County. So now on to some thanks. I want to thank those of you who were able to come out and tour the new high school with us this afternoon. Things are going along really well, and I look forward to Jim's update tonight about where we are in wrapping that project up. I want to thank all of you who were involved in our character education night. I've been stopped on the street and in different places by parents in the last week or so, really thanking me and thanking you for our commitment to character education. I know that this community values that, and it's just as important as reading and writing and basic skills. So I think we're doing a good thing. I think Stephanie and all the folks are involved in making that a special night for our students. I also want to thank this board for the 4 nights that you spent out in our schools meeting with our parent advisory councils. I always enjoy that time sitting down and talking with principals and parents in our schools and them giving each of you and me feedback on what's working well and what needs to be improved in our schools. So that is valuable time. I want to thank the Davie Community Foundation for what they are doing for our graduates. If you have a chance next year, if you didn't this year, they have a night of the Oscars, and this past week was the night of the Oscars at the Brock, and they recognized a large number of our seniors who will be graduating with scholarships, and it's just a really special night, and to have a foundation in a community our size that's doing what they're doing is phenomenal. Those students represented over $240,000 in scholarships their first year through their 4th year of college. So I want to thank them for all they do to do that. We had a Healthy Davie initiative in Davie County. The Community Foundation, the Mebane Foundation, and agencies and partners around the community had a goal of 1 billion steps in 100 days. And I want to say thank you to all the staff and students in Davie County for participating in that initiative and modeling good health and behavior for our students. And I'm proud to announce that out of the the total was like 1.2 billion, I think is where we are as a community. Davie County Schools represent 720 million of those steps. So that's tremendous, and I want to thank all of our schools who were a part of that, and congratulate South Davie Middle School, who had the highest number of steps logged with 123 million. So, Ms. Lynch, thank you to you and your staff and your students. Really proud of that. I also want to thank our parents and PTOs and our administrators for recognizing our teachers during Teacher Appreciation Week. We are really fortunate in this community to have dedicated men and women who dedicate their lives and their careers to helping boys and girls, and I want to thank them for their dedication as well. Tonight, we're going to provide for the audience and the board a really special announcement that we've already put out on social media and has already been in the news, but a new partnership with the Mebane Charitable Foundation that totals almost $3 million over the next 5 years to improve early literacy in our community. So look forward to having that presentation and discussion tonight. We have a number of students and student athletes that we recognize on a regular basis. We have some folks here tonight that we'll be recognizing, but some of these will be here next month. I want to congratulate our girls softball team for their conference tournament championship, our boys tennis for their conference tournament championship. We had a young man playing at Pinehurst number 6 today in the state championship for golf. And our men's swimming team was recognized by the North Carolina High School Athletic Association last week as the swim team with the highest GPA in North Carolina. So there's a lot of good things happening in Davie County. 2 anniversary celebrations the chairman has mentioned. Ellis Middle School will be celebrating 10 years, and the Early College High School is also celebrating 10 years. I hope that the board and community will be part of those celebrations as well. calendar is full this month with lots of celebrations and events, and I'll close my comments by saying Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers this weekend. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for that update. Excuse me. Moving on to the next item is the construction project update, and I will call on Mr. Jim Moorfield to come give us a update on the new high school construction.
Huh, turn the mic on first. Great. Can y'all see that? I can't see that. You are? You're not as old as I am. What are you gonna do? Look. Just your presence. You guys recognize this? During the past month, most all of the grassed areas have been seeded that's adjacent to the building. And the plantings around the building are in place. Some of the grass is growing really well, and some of it's been washed away, but we're getting there. The roof work on the building is nearing completion. Most of the translucent panels are in place, all of the exterior doors. There's just a few of the glass panels in the short connector from the performing arts to the main classroom that's still missing, but we expect those to be installed very soon. The auditorium is ready for all the theatrical lights, the wood paneling, and once all of those issues are taken into consideration, the seating will be installed, and we'll start working through getting the auditorium sound system, all of those things up and operational. The admin, I assume some of you guys saw that today. The admin area is coming together very quickly. I understand there's a move-in date in the first part of July, and we don't expect to be holding you guys up at all on that. It is within a couple of weeks. It will be sitting there waiting for staff. And most of the areas in the main building are awaiting their final paint coats, ceiling installation, floor coverings where we don't have terrazzo. A lot of the areas in the athletics portions get paint, the floors get painted. So at the present, the general contractor is touching up masonry block, doing their punch list items. So it's going to come together very quickly as we enter into the latter part of May. Softball field, if it ever stopped raining, we might get that thing filled in. But at the present, they are doing the work for the drainage below the softball field. Once that is in place and all of the site drainage is rerouted to the outfall, the permanent outfall, that softball field will start to take shape. And it won't take but just a couple of weeks, and it will make a difference in the way we look at things. The gym has two brilliant orange tubes running right through the middle of it for air conditioning and heating, and then the place looks really good. I hope y'all got a chance to stick your head in there and take a look at that. I think we've gotten the floor really dirty since it had its final installation, but it will come back very quickly. Got our flagpoles up, and that courtyard looks real good, and the memorial brick is on site to go in those quadrants, so that will take shape very shortly. There's also work has been started around the football field to repair the site drainage that wasn't performing all that well. And with some corrective work and some fabric covering the below grade drains, we expect that to be perform well without any problems during rain events. And the last thing is the Cte Building. It is probably the last thing on the schedule from the standpoint of getting complete. But the interior of that building is taking shape very quickly. A lot of the ceilings where we have structure exposed have been painted. The building is beginning to look really good inside. Roof's complete, AC, HVACs, all that's in place. So we're real excited about the Cte Building coming together right after the main building does. Recognize it now? Big change in 2 years. If we'll back, I don't know if you can see that date at the very bottom. We'll back up and look at that. That was 7/28/2015. That was 4/26. That was last 2 or 3 weeks ago. Tremendous difference in what's taken place in that short period of time. Seems like a long time, but it's really been a short period of time. But it's beginning to look like a school. And I hope all of y'all were impressed with what you saw today. Any questions, comments?
Have any questions for Mr. Moorfield?
Surely you got something
I
after
know.
being there today.
I've got more of a comment than a question. I did have the pleasure today to go over to the new high school for the first time.
Good.
Actually, the first time was earlier, but it was only just inside the main entrance there, so. But today was all 3 floors. And the gym, I saw the smaller gym, thinking that was the larger gym. And then I saw the larger gym, and I said, this is better than Carolina. Yeah. So, and then from there, I went over to the auditorium, and I think my auditorium in my high school 100 years ago, I think it probably set maybe 75. And to look at that one with 750, I think, capacity, it's just enormous. Overall, I think that you and your crews have done a tremendous job for Davie County. And I think that school, once everything is said and done and everybody's in and out, I think that'll be a model school for many to look at. I sincerely mean that. So thank you for your efforts.
You're welcome. I'm running out of things to take pictures of. Kind of hard to take pictures of floor covering and ceiling tile, because that's about the only thing left we got.
Oh, it is certainly coming together, Jim, and again, I echo Terry's thanks. We really greatly appreciate your help, and wouldn't have been possible without you out there making sure that things were going the way they needed to go, and we do appreciate that. Do we have any other questions, comments?
I just want the public to understand that Jim is supposed to be kind of part-time, but I think he's been there full-time for us.
That's
And I
right. That's
deeply
right. That's
appreciate
for
that.
sure.
Lunch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Thank you.
That's for sure.
I'm not there that much.
Well, we appreciate all the time you spend there. We do. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, we're moving on to recognitions, and first up, I'll ask Ms. McNeil to come up and present to us the Battle of the Books winners.
Good evening, Chairman Fuller, Dr. Hartness, members of the board, and members of the community. Over the past 10 years, I have been working with Battle of the Books in Davie County Schools on the elementary level. Over the last 10 years, I have watched that program evolve from 4 teams countywide to this year we had 10 teams. This was the first year that we had enough students per school to be competing school by school. We had one school that had 3 teams. We had 2 that had 2 teams. So for the first time, as I said, this was the first year that we actually had a school competition for our elementary Battle of the Books. These students had to become experts on 12 different titles in our elementary schools for our 4th and 5th graders. It is my privilege to introduce to you Mrs. Amanda Brooks in Knatzer Elementary School and the students from Knatzer who are on the winning team for Davie County Schools. Thank you. Our middle school competition, again, with our 3 middle schools, was held in April, and the district winner this year was Ellis Middle School. And I'd like to invite Ms. Karen Martin and members of the Ellis team to come forward. While they're coming forward, I would like to say that in the years that I've been working with this program, this is the first year that our team actually came in 5th place in the region. So that is a great accomplishment for this group of students.
Okay. Up next, I didn't realize we were finished. I apologize. Up next is the Robotics Challenge, and first up is winners, and first up is elementary.
Awesome. Greetings, Chairman Fuller, members of the board, Dr. Hartness, and friends and family. We have been fortunate in Davie County to have a robotics program. This year was our 7th annual Robotics Championships. And on April 7th at the high school, we had a number of teams compete. We had fantastic guest judges, as we do every year. Gary Bullard from Gray Engineering was there. Carlton Simmons from Davidson Community College, who we have a great collaboration with. And one of our own, Ann Davis, was very helpful in judging our competitions this year. First off, I want to introduce our elementary winners, so I'll have them come up. Again, from Knatzer, our Team 2 from Knatzer. So if you guys will come up real quick with Ms. Bullins, who is their coach. We had 18 teams this year for our elementary division with 5 schools represented. Knatzer Team 2, which was made up of Earnhardt Harris, McKenna Groff, David Castillo and Austin Beatty. They ended up with the most points in our Wake Forest Baptist Health Challenge, which focused mostly on different things that happen inside of a hospital, was each of the challenges. They scored 165 points, so if we could give them a round of applause. Thank you, guys. And I will just continue now with the middle school. We've been trying something different the last 2 years with our middle school challenge. It's a golf ball challenge. They have to go out and they have to collect golf balls. So they have to design and engineer a robot that is remote controlled that goes out and gathers golf balls, and they have to put them in a bin. Well, we throw a little twist into it in that they can use a little bit of sumo and strategy to block other people from being able to score points. So with that being said, if Radioactive Clocks is here tonight, are any of them here? We got Mr. Ollinger is here this evening. The team was made up of Nathaniel Ollinger and Jackson Trivet. They created an incredible robot, and one of the things that impressed me most was their strategy. I think this was the team that pretty much used the rails to drive golf balls up the side, and they had some huge points in some of their competitions. So they were able to be very successful in that. So first place went to the Radioactive Clocks and Nathan Ollinger. And just a little side note, one of the things that we're doing right now with our robotics program is we're re-engineering it. So there's a big focus right now on coding. So in the future, you're going to see, especially at the elementary level, we're going to redesign that. We're looking at some different ideas right now, but we want to bring coding into our robotics program. So we'll start with that. And then even at the middle school, we're going to build in some more programming along with the engineering. So look forward to that over the next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Miss Mary Foster presenting the National Geographic State B competition.
Dr. Hartness, Chairman Fuller, and board members and staff. We would like to introduce you to, Ms. Foster and I would like to introduce you to Lex Charlton, who is a 7th grader at North Davie Middle School. I was not a bit surprised when he swept our school bee, because when we read a historical fiction piece, he's always saying, you know, let me give you some background. He doesn't say that, but he provides background information for us on things that are happening around the world, and it's just incredible. So added to that, his knowledge of geography, and he swept our school bee. He took the online test for that and then went on to participate in the state level of the geography bee, the National Geographic Bee, and did really very well there. So we're very proud of him, very proud to honor him in front of you guys tonight.
Next up is Ms. Denise Absher presenting the winner of the VFW Voice of Democracy essay and audio contest.
Thank you, Chairman Fuller. Dr. Hartness, board, district staff, and community. I'm really honored tonight to talk to you about a special opportunity that high school students have in Davie County. In the fall, the VFW makes available an essay writing contest. I want to talk to you a little bit about the journey these students take, because it exposes them to so many things, and I think they grow in many ways. They first were asked to write an essay, and the theme this year was entitled "My Responsibility to America." They submit those by November 1st. They also had to record reading their essay and keep it in a 3 to 5 minute time frame. The interesting thing, and I learned this at the awards dinner, the VFW Post does not have any names on the essays or in the recordings. They don't want names or schools or anything to influence. They focus on the message coming from the student. And what's really neat then, we were invited to join the winners. They award a first, second, third, and fourth place winner at a really neat awards night at the VFW 8170 Post. And that night, those students get to read those essays among community heroes that are receiving awards that night. Firemen, EMT, it's just a great night. If any of you have been there, you know what I'm talking about. So it's a wonderful experience, and I'm so proud of these students. I want to call their names. We're going to recognize the top 3 award winners this evening. The third place award for the VFW Voice of Democracy contest goes to Davie High School junior Amber Bostick. I don't believe she's here. The second place award goes to Davie Early College sophomore Sarah Carter. Sarah was not able to be here this evening. And first place goes to Davie County Early College junior Jen Johnson. Come on up, Jen. Jen was also awarded the $1,000 scholarship that is the Joe H. King Memorial Scholarship. I want to take just a moment to thank the VFW and all veterans for all they do for our country and our community. Congratulations, Jen.
Thank you, Ms. Absher. Congratulations, Jim. At this time, I'll ask Mr. Wallace to come up, and he's going to recognize the high school cheerleaders.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, family and that are here and guests. We appreciate that. It's my honor to have the opportunity again to recognize another one of our student athletes teams that has gone beyond, obviously, the state level and competed on the national level. And I want to say thank you to them and parents. How many cheerleading parents we have in here? Do we have anybody? Okay. We probably need to give you a big hug and everything else, but we do appreciate your support. I know it takes a lot. And Coach Stage, I want to tell you thank you because you just continue to lead different groups of people as they perform year after year, but I also know what goes on in your classroom. And that's very important to us and to this board, and I know what you do, so we appreciate that. But this time, I want Ms. Stage, Angie Stage, the coach, one of the coaches, the head coach, to come forward and ask her group to come up, and she will share a little bit more about details about their championships.
Okay, not all of our children could be here this evening. They're involved in other extracurricular activities, volunteer, probably another athletic event or a job. I think one of them came from their job to be here this evening, dressed so nicely for you. But we have, so far, we have 3 children that will be cheering at the college level this year. Julie Von Jones has made the UNC Chapel Hill team. Sierra Slater has made the Western Carolina team, and Abby Shaver is not here this evening, will be cheering at Catawba College. We have 2 more seniors that will be trying out next weekend for Appalachian State, so hopefully we'll be 5 for 5 sending off our seniors. They won the North Carolina Cheerleading Coaches Association state competition in January, held at Apex Friendship High School, and then we went on to nationals, placed 2nd. Again, tied with our record for our national championship finish, and we're very close to that first place finish. So we have goals for next year already set. And then the next day in Orlando, Florida, they won their 6th consecutive title for the world championship team in medium co-ed. The kids were excited to represent the community, and we're excited to be able to go to Florida and people come and speak to them and recognize that we were Davie County, and without the positive classroom upbringing and from their parents and everything of that sort that we have here in our community, I don't think that they would have been as prepared to meet and greet with so many other athletes across the country and from other countries as well. So they're hard workers, and we appreciate the time that you've given us this evening. So they bring a lot. It's easy to coach a team whenever they're this talented, so. Okay.
All right, so we'll get back on task here. Next up is our consent agenda, and I will ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda. A motion by Ms. Horn, have a second by Mr. Drexler. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. This time, we're moving on to business items, and first up is our draft budget resolution, and I'll call on Dr. Hartness.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What you have in your packet associated with this agenda are the documents that the board covered in the budget work session. Again, this draft budget is a placeholder. It is required that we present this to you by May the 1st, which we've delivered it to you. And we need to adopt this draft budget, knowing that as soon as the state completes their budget and we get federal allotments, that this budget will change. So this draft budget reflects the discussions we've had previously.
Thank you. So we have a recommendation on the table to approve the draft budget resolution as presented. Do we have a motion? We have a motion by Mr. Hales. Do we have a second? We have a second by Mr. Potts. Do we have any discussion or questions or any other comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Moving on to child nutrition lunch price increase for 17-18, I'll ask Mr. Salicki to come up.
Good evening, board members, Chairman Fuller, and Dr. Hartness. This evening, I'm bringing to your attention a price increase for lunch meals for the upcoming 2017 through 2018 school year. Prior to the passage of Section 205 of the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act, there were no statutory or regulatory requirements for school food authorities in establishing prices for paid reimbursable lunches or the amount of revenue to be generated by paid lunches. In 2010, this changed when the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act was passed. The Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act requires child nutrition programs within their school district to evaluate paid lunches prices annually and compare those prices to the paid lunch equity average established by the United States Department of Agriculture. If the school district's average meal price charged for paid school lunches is less than the established average price paid lunch price, the school district must increase their paid lunch price accordingly. If the school district must increase their paid lunch prices, they are only required to increase lunch prices by 10 cents. So with that being said, the current meal prices for pre-K are $2.30, elementary $2.55, and secondary $2.80. And the proposed meal price increase for the year 2017-18 school year are pre-K $2.40, elementary $2.65, and secondary $2.90. This 10-cent increase would sufficiently cover the required average price for Davie County schools. Thank you for your time on this matter, and are there any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Salicki?
I'm ignorant on the pricing passed over the years, but how do we come about a price? In other words, a kid in an elementary or middle or a high school is going to pay a certain price. How does Davie County know that we need to increase that? Is there a federal requirement there?
It's a USDA federal requirement.
So it's USDA.
I'm sent a spreadsheet, and I have to input the number of meals and the price per number of meals per pre-K, per elementary, per
Right.
secondary. And
Okay.
then-
So what we're saying is it's really driven by the federal government,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so we have a recommendation on the table to approve the lunch price increase as recommended by staff. Do we have a motion? We have a motion by Ms. Owens. Do we have a second? We We have a second by Mr. Hales. Do we have any other comments or any more questions for George? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. At this time, we're moving on to the facilities and band room instrument storage for the new Davie County High School, and Mr. Spillman's going to come up and talk to us about that.
Chairman Fuller, Board, Dr. Hartness, and staff. Staff met with vendors that specialize in band storage shelving in March 2017. Staff asked Winger Corporation and Melhart Music Center to design and price storage for our band instruments and to purchase seated choral risers. The vendors submitted their designs and pricing in April. Staff worked with the band and chorus teachers to decide what design would work best for their needs. The Wingers' prices were $58,623. Melhart's music prices were $45,704.25. You can see the bid tab is attached. And staff recommends contracting with Melhart Music in Texas for the purchase and installation of the band instrument storage and purchase chorus risers and a 100-slot mobile choral folio cabinet for the amount of $46,539.25.
So we have a recommendation on the table to contract with educational environments. No. I'm sorry.
Melhart Music.
I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong item. I apologize. To contract with Melhart Music of McAllen, Texas, to purchase and install band instrument storage, chorus risers, 100-slot mobile choral folio cabinets in the amount of $46,539.25. Do we have a motion? We have a motion by Mr. Junker. Do we have a second? We have a second by Mr. Drexler. Do we have any questions or comments?
Assume we've given them a deadline for, and they can meet the deadline with no problems, because,
Yes.
okay.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Spillman. Next up is Mr. Spillman again to talk to us about the Shady Grove Elementary School gym floor.
Not yet.
Oh, what am I doing here? I'm all over the place.
Sorry.
My apologies, Mr.
Okay.
Spillman.
You're fine. Staff met with vendors specializing in storage shelving. Palmetto Shelving and Educational Environments, which is Tensco Storage. Staff sent out room, number, and design for shelving needed for the new Davie County High School. And we received pricing for both vendors, Palmetto Shelving at $99,728 and Educational Environments for $58,623. You can see the bid tab attached. Staff recommends to contract with Educational Environments for the purchase and installation of Tensco shelving for the amount of $58,623.
So we have a, excuse me. Go ahead.
Mr. Spillman, I've been in locker rooms before. One of the things I noticed about their bid spec was that they're using particle board somewhere in that shelving. That's sort of scary to me. Maybe where these shelving and storage is not going to be near water.
That is correct, and we have not decided on which actual shelf will go where. There are several different options with wire shelving and metal shelving and particle board shelving.
Is this for each individual athletic player's use, or is this
No.
off-season storage?
This is off-season storage and PE storage. This will not be for the football uniforms or anything
And
like
the
that.
second thing I noticed, there was so much discrepancy between one company's bid and the other bid. Did they bid on the same thing?
No, Palmetto Shelving is an all-wooden shelving, and it's hard, it was hard to have a competitive price for that. But this is a metal rack shelving, and we had to go with a fully adjustable, sturdy shelving, and that's how we come up with the two different types of shelving.
So it sounds like the cheaper price was more preferable as far as the wire shelving.
Yeah, as far as the metal shelving and fully adjustable interlocking shelving.
Okay. So we have a recommendation on the table, and I'll ask for a motion to enter into a contract with Educational Environments for the purchase and installation of Tensco shelving in the amount of $58,623. We have a motion by Mr. Potts, and we have a second by Mr. Hales. Do we have any other comments or questions for Mr. Spillman? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Now, we're going to talk about an elementary school gym floor.
Thank you, Chairman Fuller. Davie County Schools staff contracted with Fuller Architecture for the detail and construction drawings for the demo and replacement of the gym floor at Shady Grove. A mandatory pre-bid meeting was held April 25th at 3:45 p.m. 3 bidders were present: West Bend Construction, I.L. Long Construction, and Williams Construction. Bids for the demo of the current floor system and replacement of new concrete slab were received and opened on May 2nd at 3 p.m. You can see the bid tab attached. 2 bidders submitted bids: I.L. Long at $122,000 and West Bend Construction at $60,671.35. Staff recommends contracting with West Bend Construction in Louisville, North Carolina for that amount of $60,671.35. Additional work that will be performed, staff is contracted with Safety Seating Solutions for the removal, reinstall, and the replacement of all drive wheels on the bleachers for the amount of $18,291.61. And staff will be contracted with Royal Wood Flooring for the installation of the new pad and pour multi-purpose flooring through the NJPA National Joint Powers Alliance, and the estimated cost of that will be $50,000.
I was just going to ask, help me understand why those are separate. Why they're separate from the bid of the job.
You mean we contracted, instead of hiring a general contractor to do all of it, we used our bleacher rep that we use for our bleacher inspections and our repairs and you got to have a hussy vendor to take the bleachers apart and put them back together so they will meet state regulations on bleachers. So we chose, as we're taking them apart, to replace the drive wheels on the new floor because they're 10 or 12 years old. And then without going out on the floor side of it, we kind of know the company that we're dealing with, and we can buy this through this joint powers alliance and know exactly. I went to Chapel Hill in Raleigh and looked at these floors that had been in place for 5 years to see what they look like after they've had some wear and tear on them. And so without dealing with some unknowns is why we chose to go this route. Does that answer your question, Mr. John?
I think basically what you're saying is to break it up is an attempt to save some money.
Yes.
And to get exactly what we need or what we think we need as far as the flooring specifically.
That's correct. That's correct.
Mr. Drexel?
Again, I noticed that the 2 bidders that submitted bids, one of them was almost twice as much as the other.
Well, I will say this, the bidder the West Bend Construction actually performed the work at the Brock Gym. So he had already done the same type demo and reconstruction at the Brock. So he knew what was involved. And the third bidder did not submit a bid because of a date mix-up, but their bid was $65,000. So that was a lot closer to the 60. But we couldn't accept it because it was late.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it helps in this business to understand what you're dealing with, and maybe the other bidder was putting some money in there, obviously for some unknowns that they didn't know what they were going to have to deal with.
Yeah.
at the end of the day, so. So we have a recommendation on the floor to enter into a contract with West Bend Construction of Louisville, North Carolina, in the amount of $60,671.35 to do the demo and the concrete replacement
Yes.
in the Shady Grove Gym.
Yeah, and the waterproofing, well, it's a moisture barrier underneath the slab. Will be
Right.
involved in that.
So we have a motion by Mr. Potts. Do we have a second? We have a second by Mr. Drexler. Any other comments or questions for Mr. Spillman? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. At this time, we're moving on to the public address to the board segment of the meeting, and we do not have anyone. So we will move on to committee and staff reports, and I will hand it over to Ms. Haynes or Dr. Hartness to talk to us about Davie Leeds.
I'll kick off this conversation. I asked the tech department to pull up the slide presentation that we're going to be using. And Ms. Haynes, Ms. Lind, and Ms. Peggy Knuckles to come up. Board, I want you to know how excited we are about this presentation and this project. On April the 11th, I had the pleasure of standing before the Mebane Charitable Foundation Board of Directors in Greensboro with these three fine administrators to talk about a vision that we had to improve early literacy in Davie County. And what we're going to talk to you, or they're going to talk to you about and explain to you tonight, is how this proposal was developed, the players that are involved, and what our goals are to accomplish over the next 5 years with this tremendous opportunity. Everyone that I've talked to about this is just amazed that we have this type and level of support to do something unique in Davie County. I was in a meeting last week in Durham, and those of you who were with us at the governor's visit to Pine Brook last year, the governor's education advisor, Catherine Truitt, was in this meeting, and she is now Assistant Vice President for Academic Services for the university system in North Carolina. And she was talking about the vision of President Spellings and the partnership she wanted to develop with K-12 and the university system in North Carolina. And she listed out the goals that the president had, and one of those goals was she understands that to be successful in college, you have to start early. And she wants to know how the universities can better support K-12 and PK-12 in early literacy and ensuring that children are ready for kindergarten and they're reading by the 3rd grade. And I shared with Catherine what had just been announced in Davie County. That afternoon, Friday afternoon, I got an email from the Dean of the College of Education at UNC Charlotte, and we have a conference call this Friday wanting to know how they can help us and how they can partner. So this is a unique opportunity for Davie County. This is something we're really excited about. It's going to involve multiple agencies in the community. It's going to involve the public schools, the private daycares, and putting all of our heads together to make sure that our children are really prepared as they enter into their elementary years and throughout their schooling. So I'm going to turn it over to this team, and they're going to share with you what the vision is, what the goals are, and how we got to where we are right now.
Greetings, Chairman Fuller, board members. First of all, we want to say that we are much less nervous presenting to you than we were on April 11th, but we welcome questions because we were definitely grilled. First of all, we started out talking about some historical perspective with their board of directors. As you know, there have been many successful partnerships between Davie County Schools and the Mebane Foundation over the years. So we highlighted some of these and talked about them a little bit for them to see that what they've invested in Davie County Schools has really made an impact. And there have been many initiatives that we've sustained over the years. So the first one back from 2004 was the Mebane Technology Challenge. And as you remember, this impacted teaching and learning by putting interactive smart boards in all of our classrooms, and we continue to build on that today, even as we're opening a new high school with IFPs. The next one that we highlighted began also back in 2004. Associated with that challenge, we began implementing our preschool program and putting preschool classrooms at all of our elementary sites. We currently serve 234 students within our preschool program, 144 at the school sites and then 90 here at Central Davie. I want to note, and Peggy will come back to this, the students who come through our preschool program, 95% of them enter kindergarten ready to learn without at-risk factors. That's in comparison to 70% district-wide, so that's really something for Peggy to brag about. The next initiative being Mebane Masters. We had 14 teacher leaders who completed their Masters in Instructional Technology. Many of them have been recognized as District Teachers of the Year and are now in leadership roles. But out of those 14, 11 of them are still hired, still employed here in Davie County. We've lost one to retirement, and a couple have moved on us. In 2014 and continuing even into this summer to present, we have our Read to Achieve Summer Camp, and you've heard about that from Noel. That's been a highly successful camp implemented here and recognized across the state for the A+ strategies, integrating the arts, the Hill Center interventions. So it's really a model that's considered across the state. And we've expanded that even to first and second graders. More recently, in 16-17, we had the Emerging Readers Project. With that, we updated our letterland materials for kindergarten, first grade, and then also into preschool. And the letterland is what really supports our phonics and literacy instruction. We also had a cohort of teachers who were trained in Hill Center. And then again, more recently, expanding the preschool again. We opened another preschool classroom at Pine Brook Elementary School this year. DSS had reported a waiting list of 20 students. And no licensed facilities in that area, and again, a good number of students with at-risk factors. So at this point, we have families, not only the students, but also their families being served in that program. Other programs or initiatives that are not included on this slide include the student teacher program and the condos that we still sustain for that partnership with ASU and support with the DHS STEM Center. So that's just background. Lots of really strong history with the Mebane Foundation. But now, how did we get to where we are tonight? Back in January, we started what we call the Mebane Roundtable. So this was an organized effort here between Davie County Schools, Smart Start, and the Mebane Foundation. And we really, of course, are building upon that historical perspective, but at the same time always looking for how can we improve, how can we move the needle and improve what we're already doing. So with this, we were very strategic in building this roundtable with a representative from each of the elementary schools and with various perspectives. So we had a principal, we had a reading specialist, we had an instructional coach, we had classroom teachers, we had our preschool director, Jennifer Lond, our curriculum director. We had a variety of people with different perspectives at the table. And with that, we really got down to what's the problem. We have a lot to celebrate in Davie County as far as our growth and our success, but at the same time, it's still not where we want to be. It's not good enough. So we established that our problem is we still have about 30% of our students who are entering kindergarten not ready. And we still have 34% of students, based upon last year's data, who are not proficient in reading at the end of third grade. We still have improvements to be made. So with that, we went through what we call a peeling the onion protocol, and it's kind of what it sounds like. It's peeling back the layers. Why is this the case? Why do we still have about a third of students who are not ready and who are not performing at the end of third grade? What are our underlying assumptions or beliefs? What are the reasons? And really going through a 5 why protocol. And then getting down to, okay, what have we not considered? What are some other ideas? And where do we go from here so that ultimately we can move the needle and make a difference? So at this point, I'm going to turn it over. No, not yet. Not quite. I thought I was. From that roundtable, we came back and really started gathering input, talking with lots of groups of people, helping prioritize the ideas that came from that roundtable, and also building buy-in in the process. So we met and talked with principals within principal meetings, instructional coaches, our reading specialists that serve at the elementary level, media coordinators. Peggy talked with our private child care directors, and again, Smart Start. Now I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Knuckles, and she's going to talk with you about goal number 1. We have 2 goals with this project, and they are lofty.
Good evening. As stated before, the goal at the bottom, or the statement at the bottom, is what led us to be leaders in the community. We are sending our students from pre-K, 95% of them are ready to succeed in kindergarten. We also recognize that in our private facilities, we weren't doing as well. We consider all the children in Davie County our children, so we wanted to reach out and collaborate and work with those facilities to help get everyone to the same level and have the same opportunities. There we go. In the pre-K system with NC Pre-K, which is the North Carolina Pre-K program that we administer for contracted sites in the county, we are required to have a state curriculum, but not all of us have to have the same curriculum. It has to be an approved curriculum, but not the same. So what we would like to do is to go out and to help bring more consistency in the curriculum, as well as the assessments and what they call social and emotional foundations, early learning, which is the CEFL strategies that you see there. So we want to be able to put everybody on the same playing field because our private providers have not been able to access these resources. So first we want to get us on the same level. And then what we want to do is we want to have a collaborative teacher or coach to be able to go out into the community, and whether they're licensed or not licensed, religious or private, as far as our also our public with Head Start as well, so including them as well. Being able to offer some professional development, modeling and support, aligning them with kindergarten standards because they're not as familiar with our kindergarten standards, being so far removed from them, and creating that common language to understand what does readiness mean now. Many years ago, we had a readiness term and vocabulary that we used among the private facilities and our schools, but we have come so far in our kindergarten standards that we've got to recreate that and create a new common language. So this collaborative teacher and coach will be going out and helping to help them to plan lessons aligned with kindergarten as well as preschool curriculum, help to teach them how to use the curriculum that they will have with fidelity and consistency, and be able to work with them on the assessments that they have using data-driven assessments to know where they need to be with their children. What part of that is involved is going to be also some field trips and some visiting, some observations from private providers into our school systems, bringing those children into the elementary schools to break down environmental barriers at least 3 times a year, so that those children can have a lesson, a collaborative lesson with our preschool classrooms at the elementary sites, either in the media center, the gym, the playground, and have an opportunity to come before they come for the dial screening and they're assessed and they're coming for something not so fun. Their parents are saying, you've got to pass this, you've got to do this. Instead of coming, they want them to break down those environmental barriers so that they can feel comfortable coming into our schools. So we want to reach out to all those facilities and help to create some observation opportunities, not just for the students, but also for those teachers in the classroom to help get us all on the same playing field. And Ms. Line?
Good evening. Project goal number 2 is to improve third grade reading proficiency from 66% to 80% by 2022. You can see on the screen there that Davie County Schools currently ranks number 20 in third grade reading proficiency. This is out of 115 districts in North Carolina, which is wonderful to be number 20 out of 115. However, through this initiative, we want to move to the top. We want to be number 1. And to give you an idea, last year, one county, Polk County, was 79.5% proficient in third grade reading proficiency. They were the highest. The year prior, Camden County was 80% proficient in third grade reading proficiency. That is, so you can see there, we're setting a very lofty goal to get to 80%, but we're going to do that within 5 years.
how are we going to do that? We're going to strengthen instructional practices. We have 2 programs already that are strong phonics-based programs in our early grades, Letterland and Hill Rap. These are strong programs, but we want to expand these programs. Last year, we were able to put Letterland in every pre-K, kindergarten, and first grade classroom. This upcoming year, we want to expand that into 2nd grade and provide the training for our 2nd grade teachers. We also want to begin the process of training more teachers and teacher assistants to provide Hill Rap to our more struggling readers in the early grades. One of the most important parts of this initiative is building capacity in our instructional staff, and that's through professional development. We heard loud and clear as we were gathering input that our teachers said to us, it's great to have PD, but we feel like a lot of times we get wonderful PD, which is again wonderful, but we get that shot in the arm and we get all these great resources, but we don't always get the follow-up. So what they really want is coaching and modeling and feedback and follow-up. And some of the topics that we're going to cover through this initiative are professional learning communities, differentiation, balanced literacy approach, and reading foundations, which are great, strong initiatives to have. We will also hire 2 literacy coaches. As you know, we have 6 elementary schools, so that will be 1 per 3 schools. Those will become the experts in these literacy initiatives and support our teachers in the classroom. The other great thing that we will do is provide curriculum mapping sessions. As you know, not always do our teachers get enough planning time to really delve in and look at the standards like we really want them to be able to do. So through this, they will be able to have planning time each quarter for a half day to get together with their grade level, share ideas and resources, look at data, and really delve into the standards. We'll also want to update resources and materials in our guided reading rooms and our media centers. Our media coordinators have told us that what they really need is they need some K2 nonfiction books added to their collections, so we want to do that, as well as we want to update the furniture that's in their media centers as much as possible, and sound panels. This will allow for more collaborative spaces. The projected expenses, you can see there each year, the total for that pre-K through 3rd grade initiative totals $2,447,188. When you look at Read to Achieve Summer Camp, you see the projected expense for this year. We don't know the projected expense each year moving forward, years 2 through 5, because we don't know the number of students that will attend, as well as we don't know the amount that the state will allot us. But we do see that the projected expenses over the 5 years will be about $3 million. Dr. Hartness?
So I think you can see why we're pretty excited about this opportunity. And I think you can also see that this is not an initiative where we spend $3 million over 5 years on some silver bullet, some magical application or some magical technology. This, if you look closely at the detailed budget that we've provided, is an investment in our teachers. It's a tremendously heavy proposal on professional development of our most valuable asset, and that's our teacher. So we didn't come with some magical solution, but what we did was presented a proposal that is replicating best practices and ensuring that all of our K3, PK3 teachers are on the same song sheet, and that we're partnering and trying to replicate the success in our Davie County School preschool classrooms in other preschools across the community. So I hope you can see that while we're so excited about this, we were just elated that the board of directors would accept the proposal and that we would move forward and begin this next school year. We were grilled with some hard questions, and I was so delighted to hear Larry Colburn and others really brag on this team right here about how well they were prepared and how they responded to the questions from the board of directors. And one of those questions was, well, what keeps you up at night about this? because this is a big step. It's a big financial commitment. It's a big investment in training for our teachers. And the thing that keeps us up is, how do we continue to have quality people in front of our boys and girls? Mr. Wallace can tell you that this week we had planned a regional job fair in Davie County. Mr. Wallace had worked with other school districts across this region to plan this job fair, and as of last week, there were 10 people had signed up to come. We have a problem in the state of North Carolina with the teacher pipeline. And when we have people who are coming to this district, we want to provide them quality training and support to help them train our next generation. So this is a tremendous opportunity for us to do some things that are unique beyond what we would be able to obtain or do with the public funding that we receive. So it's a great example of a public-private partnership, and we are extremely thankful for the Mebane Foundation. So I'd open it up to the board to ask any questions that you want to ask of this team and about this project. Mr. Potts?
Can we go back to the slide that showed your budget? Yeah, what is happening in year 4 that that drops down considerably? Oh, well, I see it does in year 3 and
It really goes back to how the professional development is laid
Okay.
out over the time period. So there's a lot of front loading and then a little bit of backing away or release. There is follow-up, but there's much more front loading of professional
that
development
makes a lot of
up front.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I don't really have a question, but just a comment as far as it's quite an affirmation of what is already being done on a daily basis from you guys and everything to just know that they don't just give money away. They do, from my experience, they do a great job of investing it where they think you'll get the maximum return. And so it's just an affirmation of what you guys are already putting together. And so it's exciting to get partners like that. It's awesome.
I'm also impressed with the fact that you included the daycares, that you included the entire county in this process, because we're just a little piece of the pie, but you've included the entire county, and that's a vision that is just, I commend you for that.
Anybody else have any other questions, comments? I'd like to thank you ladies for all the time you've put into this and everyone that's worked on it. I know you poured a lot of time into it. Look forward to the successes that it'll bring, and grateful to the Mebane Foundation for being a part of Davie County Schools, and it's good to see them involved, and like I said, very grateful for that. And thank you for that exciting presentation. Next up is Aaron Foyle, who's going to talk to us about attendance policy change.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, Dr. Hartness. Tonight, I'm bringing before you a very small change to our attendance policy number 4400 for your information and for your consideration. The current attendance policy contains attendance requirements for passing your classes in middle school and high school. So there are attendance requirements. When a student does not meet those attendance requirements in a course, typically the teachers are going to record that in their grade book as a 59. 59 was actually changed from a 69. When we went to the 10-point scale, it was 69 for several years. Until we went to the 10-point scale, and then it changed to a 59. We do that to indicate that that failure is due to an attendance requirement that was not met for that particular class. But it can be rather confusing, especially when you actually earn a 59 in your class and you didn't fail due to attendance, but due to your academic performance. So what we would like to do, we are going to upgrade to a new version of PowerSchool, which is our student information system, in the next month. That does provide us with some opportunities to add some codes to the grade scales that we use. So what we would like to do is change the attendance policy to allow for teachers to record a failure due to attendance as an FF in the teacher grade books and in the report cards in order to differentiate that between a failure due to academic performance and an academic due to attendance requirements not being met. This code, FF, is used by several of our surrounding counties and other counties across other LEAs across the state. It is included in state board policy as an acceptable code to record on transcripts and in report cards. So I do bring that to you for your consideration and then to vote on next month. Does anybody have any questions?
Have any questions for Ms. Foyle?
What if there is an academic not satisfactory and an absence not satisfactory?
Oh, if they do not meet the attendance requirements, but they also do not perform academically in the classroom, they would actually get the academic performance grade. So the FF is only recorded in the grade book when the actual grade in the class is a passing grade.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, we're moving on to a change in the middle school girls soccer season, and Mr. Wallace is going to talk to us about that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board, we continue to struggle, frankly, with finding other middle schools. It's just very difficult, and we don't come to you and make abrupt decisions or abrupt changes with moving seasons. We consider the impact. We do understand that if any particular season, male or female sport, kids are going to have to make choices. And so we sat down as a group, we being as you can see there, principals and athletic directors and our county AD, Mr. Bill Haggerty, who has done extensive work in this area of calling county ADs, schools, to do our best to find people to schedule. And this recommendation came directly from our middle school athletic directors to recommend to change this season. So as you can see there, we plan to move the girls' soccer to the spring, which in our regard, it does coordinate with the high school as well. So be glad to entertain any questions or if there's anything there.
Any questions for Mr. Wallace?
Or statement and or question. So for those kids in Davie County schools that are playing soccer and they play on professional teams too, and I'll just use that term kind of as it is and for your own imagination. And so to me, I see this as an asset because I know of a situation where the kid wanted to play for the school, of course, but they also had their other. So, and both were at the same time. So it was quite difficult. You know, she'd get excused from one periodically to attend the other. So if all of that's true, and I know it is, then I see this move, this change, as a plus, not a negative. Am I in the ballpark?
You are, and what we're seeing are a lot of other athletes, especially those that can compete at a higher level, that we want to be a part of our team, our school teams, are competing almost year-round sometimes, or training year-round. We don't let that drive us, but we do consider that. We've got to be flexible and try to meet the needs of our own students first. And then we do take the other folks into consideration, the other seasons and other teams.
I know of a lot of parents that are going to be very proud that that's happening. I can assure you.
And I wasn't aware of that, but that's a good thing. That's good. But again, that feedback should come to our athletic directors and principals, in which, again, this is where this came from, which it should. It should, to best meet the needs of our kids at our individual schools. Good point. Thank you, Colonel.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Next, we're going to talk about sixth grade athletic participation. I think Mr. Wallace is going to talk to us about that.
As you know, Board, we, the North Carolina High School Athletic Association approved for sixth graders to participate in middle school athletics. And then, of course, we met and discussed that and made a decision to allow our sixth graders to participate in sports except for football. And obviously, we know reason, we understand why. But our sixth graders, as you well know, do have the opportunity to participate in football with our Davie County Little League football. But Dr. Hartness and I had talked about this, and Coach Haggerty, and I wanted to provide you with a breakdown of our numbers. So I want to compliment or thank our principals and our athletic directors at our middle schools, and also Coach Haggerty for helping us work through some of these numbers. I tried to break it down for points of interest. I think, as you can see there, 202 sixth graders did try out. Part of our concern was, well, they're all going to try out and then they're all going to get cut. Well, you can see there that 68% of those made a team. Now, you got to keep in mind, the numbers are a little bit skewed with wrestling, because we keep everyone, for the most part, and we should. Track, some cheerleading numbers in here. So, again, out of the 138, it's not skewed too much, but the point is our sixth graders are being allowed to, are part of a team, and we're pleased with these numbers. And I think you can see kind of a balance there with male and female as well, for the most part. And we expect to see these numbers continue to grow, and as we do grow, as I've already been approached by one board member, we will consider other sports if we can. Of course, that's there need the interest there first. And as you know, our lacrosse teams are at the high school. Our girls are in their second year, and our boys, I think, are in third or fourth year. And on a positive note there, we're sending a young man that earned the opportunity to play college lacrosse this year, 100 acres, which is very good for a young program like that. And so I could see that possibly expanding into the middle schools. But the good thing there is we've got participation, and we all know that participation links itself to better school performance and school attendance, which is part of our ultimate goal anyway, is that participation of our students. Be glad to entertain any questions if you have any.
I got a comment, and in addition to that, it also leads, and you mentioned of this one particular kid who got a scholarship for lacrosse. So it opens up more opportunities for those children than the greater number of sports variety that we've got. The greater the capability or probability that we're going to have somebody reach success and be able to go to college that otherwise might not be able to go there. So that's positive.
In that regard, I'm going to bring to you, we'll recognize, Dr. Hartness mentioned tonight, our swim team with the highest GPA in the state. And Coach Absher, our high school athletic director, put together a list that he sent us of how a number of our teams, their GPAs. And I'm going to take the opportunity next board meeting to share that with you. It's outstanding. And I think what you saw here tonight with our cheerleaders is outstanding. And you guys know that takes work and time. Some of you have students and athletes and things. And so we're very, very proud. We got a good thing going here. And Dr. Hartness can probably attest to that from being on the High School Athletic Association board, I think board of directors at this time, and gets to hear and see a lot of situations. And I have a lot of friends around the state and get to hear things. But we're doing it right. But we need to continue to support that in the best way we can.
May I go back to your previous report? By moving our sports season for girls soccer, are we still going to be pretty balanced in what we offer per school for each sports season?
Are you talking about, well, right now?
In the fall, we'll offer how many girls' activities?
Well, it would be volleyball, which girls have to choose now. And then we.
When is softball now?
Softball is in the spring.
Okay, it used to be in the fall.
It moved, it did,
Okay.
you're right. And that was because of conference and trying to find people to play. And again, as you see in the information there, that most of the schools around us do play soccer in the spring.
All right.
So it should help us. But the balance with, I'm trying to think real quick, fall sports for girls, volleyball, cheerleading.
How about tennis? When is it?
Fall. Mary, did you say fall? Yes. Okay. Which is same for boys. Excuse me, not same for boys. Same in high school.
Okay.
Yep. Right.
And we're still playing, I see in the paper, we're playing, of course, a lot of out-of-county teams. There might be worth our time to contact Forsyth County. My understanding in January, when I had my last conversation, was that they were going to be adding some middle school programs.
That
For
man
Darrell
sitting
Walker.
right back there, Mr. Bill Haggerty, they probably recognize his number when he calls.
Okay, all right.
Because when
Good
he
deal.
gets wind of
Good deal.
that, he's on it. And
Good
I
deal.
assure you that. And he
Good.
is aware of that. They are adding. He is, but they say, they, being Forsyth County, Coach, my understanding, they want to stay in Forsyth County for now. Is that what they said?
Right now, they have about 7 sports. I talked to Greg Gentry, who's the county athletic
Right.
director in Forsyth. And that's been our main, we're a high school, we're in Forsyth, and then playing, whether it's rec ball, and all. Now they're gonna start up. But when I talked to him the other day, they wanna stay within their county first. Last year, he said they made a mistake and let some private schools in. They were just showing up at track meets and wanting to run. But I said, well, listen, we need, it would be very nice, they've got 9 schools. Or they have 15. And then they want to get them all together, and they're thinking of putting football in right now. And I've approached maybe 3 different districts and put a proposal together with someone in those districts. And we had a real good one up in Stokes with Mount Airy, Stokes, Fort Bush, Yadkinville, where they had 8 and a charter school in Mount Airy. Now, we wouldn't have to go to Mount Airy, or they wouldn't have to come to us. But what it was 9 schools, and us would be 12. And then we would have a north and south, and then you could have a medium area to play those conference championships. Well, we got outvoted, it was really close, 5-3. We didn't have a vote.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a vote within, and we had 2 no votes, and this is what I'm running into, they had 2 coaches. I mean, I don't even know if the principals were involved, where they said no.
And that's where Coach Haggerty stays with and contacts them frequently. And I do appreciate his effort there. And so we're hoping, if we keep knocking on that door, especially if we can say, you can be here in, 20 minutes, 15 minutes. And I think we might, what Coach Haggerty and I've talked about is seeing a spot into their schedule some places where they may have a scheduling conflict or can't work things out. Maybe we could spot in to get our foot in the door. That's what we're hoping to do.
Don't get discouraged, because this has been happening since 1988, as far as jumping from one conference to another. And, we never get a vote. And so,
We were with Rowan years ago.
yes, absolutely. Yep.
And then they built their new school southeast, so then.
They kicked us out. Yeah.
If anyone gets any inkling on people that you know that I can contact, send me an email, or text me or call me, and I'll look into it.
I'm sure you will. Thank you so much for what you're doing.
Mr. Chairman, I would just say too, in serving on the High School Athletic Association Board, NCHSAA does not regulate middle school athletics. This is all regulated by the State Department of Public Instruction. And last year, when they made this last-minute change right before school started, kind of threw everybody in a tailspin as to what do we do in the fall. And I was really glad that we decided to go ahead and allow our 6th graders. And as you ask questions about how many participants do we have, I want to thank Mr. Wallace and Mr. Haggerty for putting this data together so that you can see the impact that it's had. And I think sometimes we take for granted what we offer, but we offer so many more things in Davie than most districts. I was in a meeting on Friday, and I heard a superintendent in our region, who in here has middle school football? We don't have middle school football. Well, you just take that for granted in Davie. But we offer a whole lot more for our students than other places in a lot of circumstances, and that creates some scheduling challenges. So hats off to our middle school principals and Bill and Jeff and everybody who worked together to give these opportunities for our students. They're blessed.
Thank you for that update, Mr. Wallace. At this time, we have reached the time when we adjourn. That's right. Do we have any board members have any comments? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say that this week is Teacher Appreciation Week, and I know each of us here appreciate the job that everyone does in Davie County Schools. Also, it was a sad day about 2 weeks ago when I learned that one of our teachers, who was such a jewel, Frida Ramsey, passed away, and it was a shock to a lot of us because she was such a dynamic person who brought smiles to everyone and took young people that step further. So in honor of her, we'll honor all our teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Do you have any other comments? Seeing none, I would just say thanks to everyone for coming out tonight. It was good to see a full house here earlier. Thanks to all of you folks for hanging around. And now I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Who we want? Oh, Ms. Horn, a second. We have a second by Mr. Hales. All in favor? Motion carries. We are adjourned.